Hi students, Assalamu alaikum. This is Shahina. Welcome back to our new session. Today we discuss about MySQL cursors. Cursors are used when we want to manipulate data of many rows. Cursor is a temporary work area in which you can store the result of SQL statement. Cursors are used as a sequential file. In Oracle, there are two types of cursors, implicit and explicit cursors. But in MySQL, the things are more different. If you want to use cursors, we first declare the cursor in a PLSQL block. To manipulate a cursor, you have to open the cursor using open statement. You can fetch the rows from using fetch statement. After fetching the rows, the cursor is closed by using close statement. Several queries are processed by opening multiple cursors at a time. If you want to hold a set of rows, a cursor is used. A cursor can hold multiple rows. In MySQL, mainly three types of cursors are available: read-only, non-scrollable, and sensitive. The read-only cursor, you cannot update data in underlying table through a cursor. In non-scrollable cursors, you can only fetch the rows in the order determined by the select statement. You cannot fetch rows in the reversed order. In addition, you cannot skip rows or jump to a specific rows in the resultant set. Then finally, a sensitive rows. There are two kinds of cursor, a sensitive cursor and insensitive cursor. A sensitive cursor points the actual data, whereas insensitive cursor uses temporary copy of data. Then a sensitive is more faster compared to insensitive cursor. However, any change that made the data from other connection will affect the data that is being used by an insensitive cursor. Therefore, it is safer if you don't update the data that is being used by an insensitive cursor. MySQL cursor is insensitive. You can use MySQL cursors in stored procedures, stored functions, and triggers. We are all familiar with the stored procedure. The later concepts are discussed in the following sessions. Then we work with the MySQL cursor. There are mainly different steps for using cursors: declare cursor, open cursor, loop, fetch data from cursor, exit loop, close cursor, etc. are the steps using cursors. First, we declare a cursor by using a declare statement. Declare cursor name, cursor for select statement. These are the syntax. The cursor declaration must be after any variable declaration. If you declare a cursor before the variable declaration, MySQL will issue an error. A cursor must always associate with a select statement. Next, we open cursor by using a open statement. The open statement initializes the result set for the cursor. Therefore, you must call the open statement before fetching rows from the resultant set. The syntax of the open statement is open cursor name. After we open a cursor by using open statement, we use a fetch statement to retrieve the next row pointed by the cursor and move the cursor to the next row in the resultant set. The syntax of fetch statement is fetch cursor name into variable list. After that, check if there is any row available before fetching it. Finally, deactivate the cursor and release the memory associated with by using a close statement. The syntax of the close statement is close cursor name. These are the steps when we use cursors. It is a good practice to always close a cursor when it is no longer used. When we working with MySQL cursor, you must declare a not found handler to handle the situation when the cursor could not find any row. Suppose we fetch a row from a table by using a cursor. There is no row in that table is an error message. Therefore, we must handle a not found handler to handle the situation when the cursor could not find any row. Because each time you call a fetch statement, the cursor attempts to read the next row in the resultant set. When the cursor reaches at the resultant end of the resultant set, it will not be able to get the data. The condition or error is erased. So we need to handle that situation by using not found handler. The not found handler is declared by using in the following syntax. Declare continue handler for not found, set exit loop equal to true, or we may set a value or variable. The exit loop is a variable that indicates the cursor has reached at the end of the resultant set. Notice that the handler declaration must appear after the variable and cursor declaration inside the stored procedure. Then here I demonstrate the picture for cursor working. First we declare a cursor, then we open the cursor. After opening, we need to fetch some rows. Sometimes the rows is empty. If it is not empty, then we need to fetch again another row until the resultant set is empty. Whenever the resultant set is empty, we close our cursor. Next, I here explain a cursor example. First, we declare some variable. Here I declare finished integer variable. Its default value is 0. Declare email address is a varchar variable and default value is null. And I declare a cursor for employee email. The cursor declaration is look like declare. Cursor name is cur email. Cursor for I select all the email numbers from employee. Next I declare a not found handler. Declare continue handler for not found, set finished equal to 1. Finished is an integer variable. By default its value is 0. If suppose there is no data found in this cursor, the finished value set to 1. Next, open the cursor by using open statement. Open cur email. Then iterate the email list and concatenate all email where each email is separated by semicolon. Therefore, here I use a loop statement. I need multiple emails. So many emails in my table. Therefore, iteration statement is needed. Here I use a loop statement. Fetch cursor email into email address. Email address is a variable name. Then suppose sometimes this fetch statement has no rows. Then we handle that situation by checking if finished equal to 1. Suppose there is no row in that email address, then the value finished equal to 1. If finished equal to 1, then leave that loop. Inside the loop, we used finished variable to check if there is an email in the list to terminate the loop. Finally, we close the cursor by using the statement close cur email. Here I print the email list, that is email list is concatenated with the every email address by using a set email list statement. Here this is an example of cursors. After creating this cursor or this procedure, and we will call this procedure by using same statement called create email list statement. Thank you students for watching this video.